What's up? Jeff Morris here on top of the Dream Center in Los Angeles, California. We're about to talk with Matthew Barnett, the founder of the Dream Center and the pastor of Angelus Temple. Let's go. So the Dream Center right now ministers to tens of thousands every month.
Yep.
And is impacting this whole area. People in drug rehab, rescuing people from the sex slave industry, homeless families you're helping out, and then all the neighborhood outreach. How the heck?
That's a good way to put it.
Really, how are you overseeing all of that stuff? How does that work?
Well, it's interesting, overseeing a campus like this, and we tend to draw people that you never could pay, people that are retired who want to spend the rest of their life serving and making a difference. And it's interesting, when we started a little old building next to a liquor store nobody could find. And the church just really was born out of failure. It was born out of thinking that I was going to go one way, and then everything falling apart, having nobody left in the church building, and then taking a walk around the community. And in a 4-hour walk, I began to understand that God said, I want you to build a great church. I want you to build people. And then out of that, a great church will be born. So really, he called me to be a city janitor. And so when we started taking people that had drug addiction, when God spoke to me that night to taking people that had addiction, I've never used drugs and alcohol in my life.
Right.
We got our first little apartment. We started taking people in. We started working with them. And all I had back then was a Bible and told them to go to church. That's all I knew.
Right.
But God began to send people. He began to send leaders who had the pulse, who I never even realized they wanted to spend the rest of their life serving. People that were postmaster generals and people that worked in some of the biggest industries.
Wow.
And so when you look at the 700 plus people that live here on this campus every single day, and the people that run it are people that you never could recruit. They found us and said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Many of them worked with no salary.
Wow.
Many of them chose to live in houses and apartments and massive condos.
Wow.
And they just come and live in here and give the rest of their life to serve. So I think, when you begin to make a difference and begin to help people, you'll be surprised the army that's out there that is ready to make the change along with you.
Now, how has from the time that it was just an apartment that you were helping some people out into now it's this massive facility, how has your implementation of ideas for your programs, has that changed over the years and of course over the size?
What's really happened is every program we started begin with the seed of a person.
Right.
Basically, for example, an unwed mother showed up here. She had nowhere to go. We took her in, and she became the seed of a massive unwed pregnant mother's home.
Yeah.
The other day, we found an 18-year-old boy on Skid Row. His foster care family dropped him off after they stopped getting funding.
Wow.
The little boy is over in Skid Row crying, and we brought a food truck down there. We asked him, why you're crying?
Yeah.
He said, my parents get no more money from me. They dropped me off on the streets of Skid Row. And that boy came in, and we began to understand that God would send us a seed of the next ministry idea.
Wow.
And it was always people. It was always individuals.
Yeah.
And everything that's ever happened, it's usually a face-by-face confrontation of need and of a hurting person.
Right.
And then acting upon that and growing and expanding. So I always tell people the great visionaries aren't necessarily the people that are the smartest. They just keep their eyes open to the plight of humanity.
Sure.
And really the next need that comes your way really becomes a call. And that's how everything's happened here, from the human trafficking, when people started bringing girls to us during raids and say the Dream Center will take them in. And we kind of got this reputation of the people of the church that will take anybody in.
Yeah.
And out of those types of people, we begin to find programs. We took our first homeless family in one day of 8 people. And I said, you know what? I believe God's calling us to do a family floor. 3 months down the road, there was 170 people that were living there in this building here now today who were homeless families. And I began to understand that oftentimes, many people spend their life paralyzed by fear.
Sure.
They feel like they have to have the perfect plan to reach out to someone and make a difference.
Right.
But there really is no perfect plans. They're just compassionate ones. And we just decided that we were going to get the best idea we could, the best strategy, and then just help people, and then let the need and the hurt in the process begin to teach us what we need to learn along the way. Because really, there's always variables when you're dealing with hurting people. You can't figure it all out from the beginning anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So you might as well get the best strategy you can. It might not be the same strategy you have 1 year down the road.
Sure.
But give God something to bless as you step out in faith.
So you kind of, in a sense, get a rough skeleton of what could be with a great idea and somewhat of a plan, and then allow it to morph as you see it, the needs change and all that different stuff.
Yeah.
Powerful. You just have started rescuing people out of the sex slave, sex slaves and whatnot. And again, with all this other stuff, and in a rough economy, I mean, like, you're talking about starting these floors for the homeless families, all this stuff. How do you get money? Is there are you the most creative fundraiser on the planet? What's happening?
We learned that money follows ministry, and this has been something we have lived by to the core belief.
Yeah.
You meet the need, and God sends a provision for the vision. And it's always been that way. It's literally every single time we've stepped out, we've added 250 beds in the middle of this economy. Wow. Because why not? I mean, this is a time where America needs help the most.
Right.
So why, if we fall into a shell and do nothing or maintain, we're just conforming to the world's mindset that says this is not the right time. God's people ought to be doing the most during the times of greatest need.
Yeah.
So we just started opening up rooms when we had a 16-bed facility for unwed pregnant mothers and girls like that. We had no money. I told our team, start painting. Just paint and clean.
Yeah.
Give God something to work with where he can do a miracle.
Yeah.
And as they begin to do those simple type of actions, we can begin phone calls from people. I know I'm speaking on a very supernatural level, but I really believe that God has a commitment to people that are in need. The word backs up that when you give to the poor, you lend to God, he will repay. So every time I dream for hurting people, when I dream for myself, things that I want, sometimes they don't come to reality, but when I dream for the ones that Jesus loves, we have always found the provision has come at the midnight hour or sometimes right in the middle of it. But money follows ministry. There's people out there that want to be a part of supporting a specific cause. They want to help mothers or this. And we begin to realize that, when you play prevent, even in pro football, when you sit in that protective shell, you usually lose the game.
Right.
But the best strategy of being blessed by God is to reach out to more people and continue to grow. And we have found that people are coming out of the woodworks and they're saying, you know what, I want to support this program. This is my life's long dream was to be a part of doing something like that. So that's, we're living on the edge. It's a miracle space. It's a space between what you can do and what you can't do. If you basically put yourself next to that, here's your power and here's your task, this is the only wiggle room you have for a miracle.
Sure.
But if your power is here and your task is way over here, then that's the room that God can use in the size of the miracle by which he can do.
Wow. Now, social justice is a huge thing, and it sounds, people look at the Dream Center and say, wow, social justice galore, reaching out to the unloved, the needy, and there's tons of churches that are trying to get involved in different social justice movements or even start them themselves. Would you say that there's key things that they should do or shouldn't do? Some people ignore the gospel in it, some people don't. What are your thoughts on the whole?
Well, I think oftentimes when you're reaching out to people, it's important to earn the right to be heard. Because I think there's a lot of people that knock on the doors and they answer the doors and they'll do whatever you want them to do just to get you out of their hair. But when you invest yourself into a community for a lifetime, you're earning the right to be heard. They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And that's what we have found. We do Adopt a Block in the streets, and we knock on 32,000 people we visit every Saturday. We just knock on the door and say, what can we do to serve you? 4 to 6 weeks later, people are saying, why are you guys this way? It opens the door to the gospel. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think oftentimes you have got to earn that right to be heard by serving and first change the atmosphere of the community to where the message would actually be received. We had one block in our neighborhood where 35 out of 52 people were not only born again and saved, but were coming to church.
Wow.
So they're not slamming the doors. They're not saying, go away, I never want you back. Because for 3 months, all we did was love on them, painted graffiti out, brought them stuff to their house, brought trucks to come into their world and minister. So once you go into someone else's world and serve, and then the open door, then they won't let you go. They get mad at you if you have to leave and go to the next door.
Right.
Because you've created an appetite in them that they never even knew that they had.
Sure.
And so social justice is a good concept, but I like something a little more edgy called social transformation.
I like that.
Because sometimes justice, I understand what it's about.
Yeah.
I think justice has the connotation a little bit of we're trying to figure out and understand the plight of humanity. Transformation is let's just get in there.
Yeah.
Let's just find a need and fill it. Let's find a hurt and heal it. Let's take a step into people's lives and make a difference. And let's see where God will take it. And so I really believe now, and maybe social justice was a good first step.
Sure.
But I believe that God is moving us into something even greater, social transformation, where churches are literally understanding that Sunday morning is not the destination for the church. It's the launching spot of what the church can be Monday through Saturday through the course of a week. And that's why we've seen crime drop 73%. I was raised in the church my entire life, and people used to equate revival to how long you prayed in a church building. We had a 5-hour service, it was revival. And that might be refreshing. You might, got pumped up on the inside a little bit, but revival is not revival until the community at large can look and see the statistics dropping dramatically, see that the community is a better place, property values go up, things begin to happen. I believe there has to be tangible evidence that even the city can look and say, because that church is in that location, everything is better about that community. I think that's one of the great definitions of revival.
Yeah, and Jesus is all about really transforming lives.
Yeah.
You've come up with, here on this campus, some really creative ways to, more than just rehab, people. They're working all over here. You've talked about some of the stuff you've come up for the youth with hip hop, classes. Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the most important things we do is not just minister to people's need, we minister to their potential. And that's a big difference.
That's really good. That's good.
Because oftentimes, government programs, nothing wrong with it, they can send someone a check in the mail, but they'll never change until we get to someone's potential.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do every single day. We speak dreams into people's lives that they don't even believe that they can do. I go down to the liquor store just down the street here, and I see a bunch of gang members. I walk up to them and say, one day you're going to be my sports pastor. Oh, they laugh and mock me. I said, you can laugh all you want because they're all my friends.
Sure.
I said, but one day it's going to happen. And I think that's what we do as God's people. We walk around, we speak crazy things over people's lives. We don't carry an idea or mentality in this neighborhood that, it's so hard and we're the only ones slaving it out in the neighborhood. Right. Our message here is everybody cares.
Yeah.
We're having the time of our life serving, and we're not trying to relate to the community. We're not trying to be relevant to the community. We're trying to be revolutionary. We're trying to show them an attitude they've never seen before. They're around pain, lack of fathers, hurt, gangs. So we give them the opposite. We give them joy, happiness. And so I used to believe for years I had to understand the community to reach it. And God said, no, be different. Show them something they've never seen. Take them to a place that they never dreamed that they can go.
Yeah.
And that's why, people from here can have a voice from Illinois or Nebraska, Indiana. They come in here and they think it's ministry so easy. They're like, man, it's so easy here. I don't tell them for 17 years we have loved on this neighborhood and never stopped. Because I don't want to kill their joy, but we've already laid a really good foundation in the community of serving and earning the right to be heard. So, if we want to change crime and things in our neighborhood, there's an atmosphere of a neighborhood.
Sure.
There's a peer pressure of a community.
Right.
When we are out there doing the Father's business, loving people and serving, the atmosphere begins to change. It doesn't become crime friendly anymore.
Yeah.
People don't want to do gang robberies in the community because the popular peer pressures become to serve, to pick up trash, to clean, to have joy, to have victory. So I used to think that I was over my head when I came to this city. I'm a white guy from Phoenix, Arizona, and God said, no, the most important example you can be in this community is someone who stays longer than the liquor stores, longer than the guys that get out of prison. Whoever stays the longest in the community will always win the battle for influence. Wow. And that's what we've learned.
That's incredible. You are a huge champion of people, a gigantic champion of people. You have a book here, The Cause Within You, finding the one great thing you were created to do in this world. What is what happening here? Is this what kind of birthed this?
Yeah, it's really exploded. It's really talking to people about how to find their one great cause in life, and it's all the proceeds of the book go to the Dream Center, and it's how do people literally have their life transform. And in the book, it talks about people that took one inconvenient step. And they found their entire destiny. Their whole life changed, their scenery changed, because they took one step that was out of the comfort zone. And that's what the book's about. It's Bless the Dream Center with hundreds of thousands of dollars that's come in through the book. And that's the whole purpose. I think when you're in something for so long, you scrap for everything, you use every resource you can. Because I used to think, as a third generation pastor son of mega church, my grandpa pastored a church of 2,000 back when that was unheard of.
Wow.
That was one of the first mega churches. My father, of course, Tommy Barnett, 14,000 members. I used to think that meant that I had to build a bigger church numerically than them.
Sure.
Of course, but no, now I realize that all these fathers before me and all the influence and all the relationships that have been built were for me to take them and give to the kids in the neighborhood who had no voice, to give to the guy in Skid Row. It wasn't to go further or better or stronger or beyond, and God's blessed us with thousands of people in the church, but the purpose of influence was to give to kids who had no influence. And I always thought when I came here, I was so selfish. I was 20 years of age, and I just thought the ministry owed me something because I showed up into the city. God had to break me down to the core. I had to go to rock bottom. And I would tell you, sometimes rock bottom is the best place that you can go. Because dreams don't go to die in the rock bottom. Sometimes they go to be recreated. And everything had to die so that God could say, you know what? I want you to start taking in drug addicts. Everything we're doing today is not on the plan, but we came to LA. And I think sometimes God will let you come into a city thinking you're going to do one thing, You say, okay, we'll go with that.
Right.
But then when he gets here, he breaks you and shows you really what you were meant to do.
That's so cool.
And that's been the step. The inconvenient step has always been the miracle step.
Yeah.
And so it's been an exciting journey. I've been here for 17 years now, and still play basketball with the guys in the neighborhood, still go down to the fitness center and work out with them, and still try to keep my heart really close to the need to where I lose focus.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then just one last question. For people that aren't hard up, people that aren't, that really that see what you guys do here, have a huge heart for it, is there training and equipping available here at the Dream Center?
Yes, we do. We have actually mission trips they can take for a whole week.
Okay.
They can spend here and actually live on campus, meet with our leaders, ask questions about what we do. And I think once you're here and you see it, you pick it up. But I think the reason why the Dream Center has been duplicated so much is because everybody can do it.
How many Dream Centers?
220.
220 Dream Centers.
Everybody might not be able to buy television, be on TV, or even have a great teaching, ministry, but they can all just help somebody cross the street, and they can all make a difference. And I think the most exciting thing to me is people come here and say, "This looks so simple."
Sure.
And I think that's the goal, is to try to kind of spread that mentality. I think the world knows what the church is against many times. But I think it's time that the world knows what we're for.
Yeah.
We are for tackling the biggest issues, taking them on, and making a difference.
Incredible. Hey, Pastor Matthew, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Think International Dream Center.